Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into something pretty unique.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a script here.
Okay.
It's for a Hindi podcast all about making money online.
Interesting.
And what's really cool is instead of just being like, here are the ways to make money online, which, we've all seen those lists a million times,
Right.
it actually digs into strategies that
Cool.
are tailored to the
Mm.
Indian context, I guess.
So are there's India-specific things?
Yeah. And it's making me think, are there other places where people are doing things differently, that we're not even considering because we're so focused on what works, like here or in the West?
That's a good point.
It's like a whole different world of earning online, maybe, that we haven't even thought about.
I like it.
So I'm excited to dive into this with you. They talk about freelancing, they talk about affiliate marketing, content creation, even stocks in crypto.
Okay, so the whole gamut.
Yeah, so let's get started.
Sounds good.
Okay, so they start with freelancing, which, we talk about this a lot.
Sure, yeah.
But they really highlight the global nature of it, how anyone with the right skills can find clients anywhere.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And the skills they talk about is things like writing, design, video editing, programming, digital marketing, all those things that are in demand pretty much everywhere.
It's interesting how those skills, no matter where you are, they can really open doors for you.
Right. They specifically mention Upwork, Fiverr, and Freelancer, which are, the usual suspects.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if there are India-specific freelancing platforms too?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Is there a whole ecosystem there that we don't even know about?
I wouldn't be surprised. There's probably tons we don't know about.
Now, the good thing is they don't sugarcoat freelancing. They acknowledge that you can make good money, but it takes effort.
Yeah.
They really stress building a strong profile, starting with smaller projects to gain experience and build your reputation,
That makes sense.
which I think is solid advice for anyone new to freelancing.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so moving on, they talk about affiliate marketing, which, again, is something we've discussed before.
Right.
They mention Amazon, which we all know.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really interesting is they also focus on Flipkart and Myntra.
Flipkart and Myntra, what are those?
Those are big e-commerce platforms in India.
Oh, okay.
So it's they're really tuned in to their audience. They're not just talking about global giants. They're talking about the platforms that are relevant to their specific listeners.
So a localized approach.
Exactly. And they don't just stop at e-commerce. They also encourage using blogs, Instagram, and even YouTube for affiliate marketing.
So it's about reaching people wherever they are online.
Yeah. Okay, now this is where it gets fun becoming a YouTuber.
Oh, yeah.
They definitely play into that dream, right? Creating content, making money, maybe even getting famous.
Everyone wants to be a YouTuber.
I know. But they're also realistic about it.
Okay, good.
They emphasize that success on YouTube takes more than just turning on a camera.
You got to stand out.
Right. You need engaging content, informative content, entertaining content, something to make you stand out from the crowd.
I think a lot of people forget about that part.
Yeah, they think it's just easy money, but it's not.
Definitely not.
They actually break down the YouTube monetization model, ads and sponsorships.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to hit 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours.
Right, that's the key.
So it's a reminder that it takes time and effort to build a successful channel.
And consistency.
Yeah, totally.
Got to keep at it.
So then they move into the world of online courses and ebooks.
Oh, interesting.
I love how they present this as a way to, monetize your knowledge.
Yeah, everyone's an expert at something.
Right, so why not share that expertise and get paid for it?
Yeah, for sure.
They mentioned platforms like Udemy, Teachable, and Gumroad, which are all great places to start.
Yeah, those are the big ones.
The appeal, they say, is passive income.
Ooh, passive income, everyone's favorite.
Create the course or ebook once, and it can potentially generate income for years.
That's the dream.
I know, right?
But, it still takes work, right? You got to get it out there.
Yeah, for sure. You got to create it, market it, but still, the potential's there.
True.
All right, now we're getting into the riskier stuff. Stocks, crypto, mutual funds.
Oh, boy.
I appreciate that they approach this with caution,
Got to be careful with that stuff.
Yeah, these are high reward, but also high risk ventures.
They stress the learning part, right? You really got to understand what you're doing.
Exactly. Don't just jump in blindly. Do your research, understand the risks.
I think a lot of people, especially with crypto, they just see the potential for quick money.
Yeah, but it can go the other way too.
Big time.
They mentioned platforms like Zerodha, Grow, and CoinDCX, which I'm assuming are popular in India.
I've never even heard of those.
Me neither, so it just shows you how much we don't know.
There's a whole world out there.
And the good thing is they don't shy away from the risks.
Good, good.
They acknowledge that you can lose money, especially in volatile markets like crypto.
Yeah, that's important to remember.
So it's all about being informed, being responsible, and not getting caught up in the hype.
Right, right.
What I'm finding really interesting about this podcast is how much they emphasize the hustle mentality.
The hustle, huh?
Yeah, like taking control of your financial future, creating your own opportunities.
Not relying on the traditional job, so to speak.
Exactly. It's like they're tapping into this cultural shift where traditional employment is no longer the only option or even the most desirable option.
It's interesting how that's playing out in different parts of the world.
Yeah, and it's making me think, like, how much of this is specific to India and how much of it is this global trend that we're seeing everywhere?
It's probably a bit of both.
Yeah, I think so too. This deep dive is giving me a lot to think about.
Me too. It's fascinating to see how other cultures approach this whole idea of making money online.
Right. And it makes me wonder, like, what other gems are we missing out on?
Yeah, what other perspectives are out there?
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Let's take a quick break and then we'll come back and unpack some of these ideas even further.
Sounds good.
It's really inspiring to hear how this podcast like encourages its listeners to like be their own boss.
Yeah, definitely. It's like they're saying you don't have to be stuck in a traditional 9 to 5. You can create your own path.
Right, and they give them the tools to do it. It's not just like some vague advice about being an entrepreneur. They lay out specific methods and strategies like tailored to their audience.
And I think that's so important because like what might seem obvious to us about like freelancing or whatever,
Yeah,
it might be totally new information to someone who's never even considered it.
totally. This whole deep dive has made me realize how lucky we are to have access to like so much information and resources.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's a good reminder to be humble and like always be open to learning from different perspectives.
Absolutely. Like we get so used to doing things our way that we might miss out on like totally brilliant ideas from other cultures.
Right. Okay, so we've talked about freelancing, affiliate marketing, content creation, even dabbling in stocks and crypto.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm seeing is like the common thread here is this emphasis on self-reliance, like creating your own opportunities.
Yeah, taking control of your financial future instead of just waiting for someone to hand you a job.
Exactly. And I think that message resonates way beyond India. Like we're seeing this trend toward entrepreneurship and remote work all over the world.
Definitely. And technology is a big part of it.
Oh, yeah.
The internet has made it so much easier for people to connect and do business globally.
Right, like the barriers to entry have totally been lowered. You don't need a fancy degree or tons of experience to get started.
Nope, it's more about like using your skills and passions and finding creative ways to make money online.
Okay, but it's not all about like individual hustle, right? They also talk about community and collaboration,
Oh, that's a good point.
like joining online forums, connecting with other entrepreneurs, seeking out mentors.
Because even though you might be working online by yourself,
Hmm.
it's still so important to have a support system and learn from other people's experiences.
And I bet those connections are especially valuable in a place like India, where the online world is growing so quickly.
It's like creating this virtual community of support.
So for our listener who's like itching to make money online, what are some key takeaways from this Hindi podcast that they can apply?
I'd say the biggest one is just be bold and go for it.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to try something new and step outside your comfort zone.
And remember what we were talking about earlier about understanding your target market?
Yes, especially if you're going global.
Like, don't just assume that what works here will work everywhere else.
Do your research, learn about different cultures, and find ways to connect with your audience authentically.
And they also talked about the importance of, like, always learning new things, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
the online world is constantly changing.
Definitely. So you got to stay ahead of the curve.
Invest in your education, whether it's taking online courses, reading blogs, whatever works for you.
Stay curious.
I feel like we've only scratched the surface of what we can learn from this Hindi
Me
podcast.
too.
It's making me think about, like, what other cultural perspectives we could explore.
Imagine diving into podcasts from Japan or Brazil or Nigeria.
Yeah.
Like each country probably has its own unique approach to online business.
It's amazing to think about all the knowledge and inspiration that's out there just waiting to be discovered.
And it makes you wonder, what else are we missing out on?
Right. It's like this podcast has opened up a whole new world for us,
It's a reminder that the internet has truly connected us globally,
and there's so much we can learn from each other.
if we're just willing to open our minds and be curious.
So for our listener, the challenge is to like step outside your bubble and explore resources from different cultures.
You never know what brilliant ideas you might find.
And who knows, maybe one day you'll be sharing your own unique insights with the world, inspired by a podcast from a culture you never thought you'd explore.
I love that.
This is why I love doing the deep dive.
It's not just about learning new stuff.
It's about getting inspired and like seeing the world in a new way.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah, we have.
But I feel like we've only just begun to scratch the surface of this whole topic.
I agree.
So let's take another quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about some of the challenges of making money online and how to overcome them.
Sounds good to me.
It's really been fascinating exploring this whole like Indian online world.
I know, right? It's like we got a little glimpse into a whole different like internet culture.
And it makes you realize like how much we can learn from just one little podcast script, you know?
Totally. It's like a reminder to like look beyond our own little bubbles and see what other people are doing.
Exactly. We get so comfortable with like the same old sources of information.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's a whole universe of perspectives out there.
Like we were given this treasure map,
Ooh, I like that.
and this Hindi podcast was like the first clue.
And now we want to find all the other treasures.
Exactly.
What if we like dove into podcasts from China or Brazil?
Oh, man.
What could we learn about like how they approach e-commerce or social media marketing?
Or even just like their whole entrepreneurial mindset.
I know, right?
It's so cool to think about.
The internet has like totally democratized knowledge.
You really have.
We have access to information and perspectives from like all over the world.
As long as we're willing to like actually look for them.
Right. So to our listener, I want to leave you with this challenge. Don't limit yourself to the familiar.
Yeah.
Step outside your comfort zone and explore resources from cultures that are different from your own.
You might be surprised at what you find.
Maybe there's a Brazilian podcast out there with some brilliant idea for building an online community.
Or a Japanese podcast with the secrets to influencer marketing.
The point is, there are multiple paths to success.
And what works in one culture might not work in another, but we can all learn from each other.
Exactly. So keep exploring, keep learning, and remember, the world is your oyster.
That's a good one.
Until next time, happy diving.